Welcome everyone back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. It really helps the channel out. We're ploughing through subscribers, so I can't thank you enough for all the love and support you've shown me this year. And hopefully that continues well into the draft year. We're here to talk about Carlton specifically. We're going to do a few of these for all the other clubs as well. Obviously, my passion and my loyalty lies to my Blues, and we have signed a player this afternoon. But let's look at the depth situation. Now, what I want everyone to get into is really think about what we've lost, where we got to. We were literally a game away from the grand final. And then think to yourself, okay, are we behind the 8 ball or not? So this is what we left, right? We lost Paddy Dow, right? Inside midfield, a very one-dimensional. That's the only role we can play. Zach Fisher, who was a midfield forward, who became a halfback, and that's what we've sold him on. So much so that he's now listed as a halfback. So Ed Kerner, bit of a mid-forward in his later years. Josh Honey, a forward. Lockie O'Brien, a winger. Sam Philp, mid-forward again. And Lockie O'Brien in that classification of general defender, medium defender, whatever you want to call him. So what I want you to think is Cincotta came in, was our first injury replacement player. So technically, you've got to look at him as an in. You've got to look at him as an in because he's going to be in there. And what this basically says to us that 2 picks will be used, maybe one for one will be used for a category A upgrade, you'd imagine, so we can meet our senior criteria with Orazio coming in. That takes Carlton's list spots to 33 on the senior list, needing to hit the 36. And then they will upgrade a player, which would probably give them a spot maybe for PSD or something like that, or maybe they take someone like that. But at the moment, as it stands, we've got 33 players on that list and then 9 on the others, meaning there's 2 list spots available. So what that would mean is 2 players come in, that takes us up to 35. 1 is promoted, that's 36. And then should there be an injury, heaven forbid, from now to the start of the season, they will leave a spot open if that happens. But at the moment, basically means 2 players in, that's done. So we're looking at 2 players now. Orazio has joined. So a little bit of an update. Apologies, last video, I stupidly put 45 as the max list size. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. That was purely a mathematical error when I was correlating the rules. It is still 44, so don't anyone panic at that. But these are what's coming, Elijah and Orazio. So what I want you to do is let's try and get into a mind space of what's coming in, because I don't think it changes our draft strategy too much. And here we are. So Orazio Fantasia comes in, or Pontasia as we're going to call him now. He's going to be one of my boys. 28 years old. Josh Honey, 22. He's left. And what I want to see here is games of percentage of VOS. So what that means is basically the last 2 years, how many times have they been selected, right? So that's a good little indication. Now, you'll see TPI scope. What that is where they think, all fit and firing playing, where they stack up in the AFL. Now, remember, if you watched the video yesterday where I gave you the gradients, that should tell you. But this is basically saying that if you're a 3.5 stars, you're in the best 20 players. Do you know what I mean? You should be in the top echelon. Now, what you'll look here is Josh Honey was 8th, and he only played 22.9% of the games under VOS. That includes being a sub and unused and things like that. But the TPI score incredibly low. That's out of 10. So that's basically telling you where it is. It's saying that he's below a squad player, right? And that takes into account injuries and genuinely with him performances. So as you can see, no big loss, 8th. Remember when you were classing these general forwards, only 6 will play max, right? And basically 4 play because we've got talls. Potentially we count it's quite unders because usually it's just 4 or 5. Some teams may go a bit higher than that. Generally count on like the 4th, and then the 5th player is a guy that can float in the midfield and the back. And then Orazio Fantasia, so same position, way more game time, right? Rank already, he's ranked in that can play. Now, obviously here, 10%. This is the problem. Now, he had a real good back end of the year in Sandford. He did have a good little Sandford. Over 1.5 goals a game when he does play. Massive injury issues, though, and that is it. right? And that affects the TPI score because availability, the best ability TPI likes is availability. And that's knocked him down. That's quite frightening where that could be if he was fit. That could be in around the 6 mark, which puts him really high up in the Carlton method. But 3.5 stars, which is real positive. And I think that this acquisition here, I really like it. It's cost us peanuts. GWS had offered him a year deal. So did, it's worth noting, so did the old side as well. Port Adelaide, right? Do you know what I mean? Port Adelaide. So obviously quite wanted. All of them sides are the top echelon of the comp. We've gone 2 years, obviously, to get the deal done quickly. I like it. Piers by reports is on the senior list as well, which I like that as well. I think he's a very good acquisition for Carlton in the terms of just him being there and done it. If we can get just 5% out of a draftee who comes in, that's a huge win. Motlop can learn some skills. Durden learn some skills. It's going to work that way anyway. But if he stays fit, dare I say it, I think he is in our best 22. And I think that's based on what we've seen. And you've got to remember, we used to say this about Charlie, Cunningham and Marchbank. If they can stay fit, similar injury record to this guy. So now's the time. And obviously the club has taken its due diligence. It's got rid of a lot of tosh because the names in this list aren't really big losses, right? And here's the other guy. And this is the way I want you to think about Orazio Fantasia, right? People are talking about Sam Philp could be good. That's just because he's fast. The one skill set, he was taken about 20 picks too early in the draft, right? Way too early. So if we're judging him on where we're taking him, absolute disaster zone because he's no way near a top 30 player in that draft, that time of year, right? Or in reality. Nowhere near the level. Nowhere near the level. People like him because he's got that point of difference of speed. Sign Usain Bolt. So we need to get it out of our head that Sam Philp could have been good because there is nothing that suggests he could have been good, right? And you've got to look at them picks we talked about earlier, right? So if we go back to this screen, right? 78. We've also got 96. So is Orazio Fantasia better than 70, 78 and 96? Miles better. Miles better. So, and he's also miles better than Sam Philp. But we're going to use Elijah Holland here as the example. Reason being, Sam Philp played midfield and forward. Austin has specified he's a midfielder that can float forward. Probably a fair matchup. Now, both of them, similar. But if you're judging them on talent as a junior, Elijah is 10 times the player. If Sam Philp, right, is a pick in the top, 20s? He was 20th, right? Elijah Holland's is pick 1 in that comparison. And Elijah is a top 10 pick. Miles, chalk and cheese. Footballer versus speculative. Elijah's got all the skills. Rank already in his position is about that 6th mark, 6th, 7th, which, again, go back to what we were saying. When you're the 5th mid-forward, that gets you a chance of the game time because that's where Voss has been playing that extra. Played 29.5% in the last 2 years of games. 0 for Sam Philp. And the TPI score 3.10. Now, interesting, if you look at his VFL, that's coming out about 5.72 with the depreciation. So that is about where you want with a real good scope. And again, a 3-star recruit. So based on what we've seen, he could be very serviceable. And that would pop him around ahead of Cunningham, potentially, if you'd done this at the start of last season. So that's a real good indicator if you're looking at it. This is a massive win. So far, Orazio, way better than Josh Honey. Elijah, it's not even close. And I won't even entertain it. We're not entertaining that argument. We can debate the others. Sam Philp, we're not arguing, right? And then we've got Zach Williams. So this doesn't really count, you might say, but it should do. It does count. Now, 18.8% of the time of the games he's been selected, it would actually be 100% if you counted when he was fit. This doesn't. It just counts games and availability. He's counted 4th at the moment, 136 versus 107. Very similar, but look at the TPI difference. You're looking at someone here on the 4 stars. That's literally the top echelon of them positions. Also, people are forgetting this allows Doherty go in the midfield because Doherty isn't there. So technically, Zach Williams is 3rd. right? Just behind Nick Newman and Sard. So it's a higher threshold. So this is, again, you've got to count this because basically Zach Fisher was depth emergency for the halfbacks. Zach Williams takes his rightful place. Lockie Cowan now takes Zach Fisher's place as the guy waiting in the wings. You draft someone in to learn the role. So again, this is a huge tick. This is a huge tick for depth. The depth has got better because now you've replaced Zach Fisher waiting for someone to be injured. Did Voss trust him in the finals? No, he didn't. Zach Williams, would he trust him in a fight? You bet your ass to a band dance. He's always, based on what Voss has done, he's always there. And then you've got to look at this one. We talked about this, but Chincotta, 6th in that rank there. He's now always been 73% of games he's been selected for. That's a very high threshold. Again, very solid squad player, 3 stars. Lockie Plowman Wade, TPI score of 617. Again, this is the depth here because now you would say Boyd and Chincotta, with Williams coming back in, one of them will probably miss out. So they're fighting for that place, which is what Lockie Plowman was. He was the backup of the backup of the backup. So really, because he's been added onto the list because Carlton had more rookie A's last year because they were covering an injury, Chincotta instantly goes onto that senior list. If he gets promoted, whoever gets promoted, if that's Boyd, could even be Cottrell, whoever that is, but that is an upgrade of Lockie Plowman, right? Because they're playing, right? And these are the 2 finicky ones, the guys that did probably make an argument. One's retired, and it's interesting. Ed Curnow, mid-forward, and Paddy Dow were pure inside mid. And why he's not there, 8th in the midfielders, that says it all. So now this basically becomes a few players, and we're going to talk about it. And Ed Curnow. So you can see there, 5.59, that's very steady. Again, a 3-star recruit. Ed going down, 82%, just under. Remember, he played a lot of games at Ed. And Dow, 30% quite serviceable. As you can see, not a huge loss. Like at the moment, based on what Voss has selected, the biggest loss to us is Ed Curnow and Zach Fisher. And I don't think anyone cares that they're missing. Paddy Dow, obviously, is the one that divides Carlton fans. And let's have a look, though. It means Matt Kennedy has got more of an option. He was just slightly ahead of him. And now Jack Carroll takes the Dow position. As you can see, a 2-star recruit playing that mid-forward role, right? That mid-forward role, where inside midfield, Matt Kennedy, that's probably his best position. You could actually even inverse these. But looking at Jack Carroll under the VFL, in his fairness, he's been slot across the forward line. So this could be an indication here of what is going to happen. As you can see, just under 70% for Matt Kennedy. And Jack Carroll, interesting enough, that's about 70% when he's been fit. So that's quite high. And there's the guy that we forget about as well, Jackson Binns on the wing. So another guy that we haven't seen that we've had a year in. So potentially we look at it. But with them 2 picks, what does that tell us? So we look at what these guys have. We've covered them all pretty much on our list. So what we're doing now, really, if you think about it, Paddy Dow, he's the emergency midfielder. That's going to be Matt Kennedy or Jack Carroll. Fantastic. Zach Fisher, Zach Williams is in. That's fantastic. Ed Curnow and Josh Honey. Do you know what I mean? We've moved on from Ed Curnow, but do you know what I mean? That could be a Jackson Binns slotting across the half forward in that Cottrell role. And Josh Honey could be anyone. Do you know what I mean? But Lockie O'Brien is definitely going to be Jackson Binns, as we've discussed. Real simple. And then we've got Orazio Fantasia and we've got Elijah Hollands, which cover 2 of them. So there's nothing there that says you desperately need someone. You've got the coverage now all around the park. And let's not forget Matty Duffy and Rob Monaghan. They're going to be learning roles too. So right now, Carlton will look at their list and go, we've got 28 players that can play, right? We've got 28 players that can play. Orazio, Fantasia and Elijah, providing they stay fit, which we've got to assume they do, right? That's good. But also Matt Kennedy traditionally is always fit. Zach Williams gets fit. Suddenly that depth down the back looks really sharp. And also that scope that as the season goes on, I'd predict Zach Williams will go into the ball a bit. Same with David Cunningham. As he gets a bit more fitness, we did like to float him through there. Fogarty likely to float. So suddenly I would say that Carlton are going to go into this draft. And you know what I think? I don't think they'll have a position in mind. I think they'll now, because they've got Orazio, they'll go best available. It probably gives them scope now to take some punts, which in the 20s, you're going to have to take some punts. You're going to have to take some punts, right? So I think that will be Very, very interesting. So I've just picked up some names here. These, I don't want you to see the description. We are going to cover these a lot more in full. There is a lot more draft content. But the first guy we're going to look at is Archie Roberts, right? Now, Archie Roberts is a really, really solid footballer, a really exciting little player that's got a real nice turn of pace, can play down back, and then has gone inside and out this year as well on the midfield, particularly towards the end of the year. So that's really good. Incredible run and carry, incredible speed, great read of the game, and an elite kick. Elite kick. And it's interesting there. So he started his life with a half-back. He's gone a little bit forward. So this is someone here that, if he's there, real solid little acquisition. And Charlie Edwards, again, similar, right? Played really 50-50 all the way through the season. High vision, very good penetrating kick, particularly inside 50. Both of them are 3 out of 10. It's interesting there that the readiness on Charlie is a little bit higher, purely because of how he plays his game. Archie Roberts is going to be that guy that you build into it a little bit. I think you've got to really find his position, because the defensive work down the back was very Zach Fisher, very loose at times, but then real strong when he had the ball. So that would be something that Carlton would have to redevelop in that. And you look at his position, you're thinking it's more of the wing, which we've got depth and we've locked down, or it's probably more in and around the ball. So that would be a VFL job, where Charlie Edwards, you could see him slot across half-back very early doors if there was an injury, like we did with Lockie Cowan. We managed to hide that. So these two are really good. Again, their TPI rating saying it's a 3 out of 5-star recruit, which means that they're going to be a very good squad player. They're going to be in that 25 players as they reach their ceiling. This is one that's interesting, is Chew Jiaf. Now, he is linked, obviously, to Hawks, and very similar, right? Very similar to the big CJ at Hawthorn. Plays for Gippsland Power, 5.5 out of 10, 3.5 stars. This guy here is going to be better than your standard bear. Incredible high IQ, incredible intercept, incredible transition. When you've got Zach Williams, right, pushing into his 30s, you've got someone like Sard, who's getting a little bit older, and Nick Newman. Probably that next cab off the rank is something you look at. And Jialf has something that Zach Fisher didn't have: strong defensively, strong intercept mark, massive line breaking speed, and that transitional threat. That's something that Carlton struggle with. And when they've got their best back six, it's really good. When they don't, you notice it. But he would be the answer to the prayers. And I can see Nick Austin having a punt at players, academy players, if they're there, because the hard work has been done in development well early for you. And I reckon he will be high up Nick Austin's draft board. Jack Delene's another one. I want you to imagine someone like Jamie Elliott coming really high up the ground and taking them things. And this is something that conduit player is definitely something that's missing from Carlton Football Club. The readiness is really high, because these guys here, see Jack Ginnivan and players like that, you can do it straight away, right? Crumbing and goal sense and vision. I would say if you put him into our team at the moment, he's like a very lively Matty Owies, but it's natural to him. It's not something that's been manufactured. And that's something that my only knock on Owies, and I love Owies, you know I'm a big Owies fan, is it's very mechanical. It's very mechanical because it's been learnt. Jack Delene, it's all native to him. It's all native. So these two are probably my two favourites we're going to cover. Now, this is interesting. If you've watched my draft profiles, Mitch Edwards is a guy that I've been really talking about a lot as my one of my second favourite ruck, right? Imagine Pitternet doing something around the ground. That's what Mitch Edwards is. Now, this kid here, he's second only to Ethan Reid, in my opinion, as rucks. There's other guys that people have mentioned, Green and stuff. Mitch Edwards is a different gravy. A different gravy. Tied to Freo, no one can bid on him. They can't match a bid in the 40s. There's probably no need as well. Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson, they don't need him, but he's probably the best ruck craft in the draft. Good mark around the ground. Great backstop. Bit of energy there. I really like Mitch Edwards. He's one of my favourites in this draft. And to take over as the underager is everything. Needs a little bit of work on probably his engine and stuff, but he's like a baby Matty Cruiser. I'm telling you, I was watching him for the Thunder this year, and he's got real Matty Cruiser vibes. Now, no one's talking about it, but Alex Murkoff has a heart complaint. Now, how serious that is, this is just speculative. Is that going to be something that will get him back into football after his operation, his recoup? We hope it does. But that might be something that Carlton look at. We're putting a lot of work into Hudson O'Keefe, and it seems to be he's going forward ruck. So, like the TDK mode, do Carlton look and go, look, tell you what, we'd love a ruck who could do something else and take the punt. Because they're never going to be in a situation you can draft a ruck that is a top 20 recruit this late. This late. They won't get it for the next 3 years, right? Providing in the area where it's not a priority, everyone else is fine. I'm inclined to have a punt on Mitch Edwards if he's there, particularly if he's there with the second pick, which I think he will be, looking at who's picking around us, the 28 one, which will go back to 26 once the matches have happened and people lose their picks. I think it's a no-brainer for me. Ashton Moore is my final guy. You've heard me talk about him a lot. Pure ready bets. Haven't seen anyone like this since our mate, old Garlett, Jeffy Garlett. Got a very Jeffy Garlett vibe. X Factor, he loves to roll back. So what that means is he plays that defensive backstop position in the forward line, but he also can kick snags for days. I'm a big fan of Ashton. Plays in that Sandford League, which we know is probably the fastest paced state junior side in the country. Real good. So, in summary, right, what I want you all to think, who are watching at home, what you take out of this, is Carlton are only going to take 2 picks, right? They're only going to take 2 picks. They ain't going to take anyone else. Two spots really up for grabs. A couple of promotions, one promotion, job done, queue in the rack, and we've done it. But I suspect 22 and 28 will be used. 70 and 78 probably used to upgrade a rookie. Carlton move on with their day. But that's how it can be done. And as you can see, I want you to have a look that we're not in a bad way. We're not in a bad area. The depth is covered. We've got all the players ready. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a real professional draft period. And I'm looking forward to seeing who Nick picks in 22 and 28. But hopefully that's explained things. Much love. Ask away your questions. Till next time, Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad.